Reuters reporter Simon Lewis asking spokesperson Matthew Miller why ICC rulings should be enforced against Russia and not Israel.
The secretary was, I think last year it was, where he was talking about the warrant for Vladimir Putin said, this was in Senate, said any country that's party to the court has obligations and should fulfill those obligations. So should countries' obligations to international treaties be sort of selective in this way?
No, every country has to make their decision. That every country has to make that decision for themselves. But I don't think there is any equivalence between the case that the ICC has brought against Russia and the case that it has brought against Israel. When you look at the difference between the two countries, Russia is not a democracy.
Pause it for 1 second. I just want you to just sit and go back a little bit. But just sit with the idea that there's no equivalency in these two cases. I'll tell you what the equivalency is that the ICC has gone through its very formal process in which it's assessed whether arrest warrants will be issued. The prosecutor pitches it essentially to the court. The court then makes a determination. And in fact, I think it was Britain that slowed the process down. It would have been a process that would have been resolved, I think, 6 months ago. But there is exactly an equivalency. And on one hand, the ICC is bringing charges against a leader for crimes against humanity. On the other hand, the ICC is bringing charges against a leader of a country who has committed crimes against humanity. That's what the equivalency is. Go ahead.
The case that the ICC has brought against Russia and the case that it has brought against Israel. When you look at the difference between the two countries, Russia is not a democracy, does not have a functioning independent legal system, is not investigating violations of international humanitarian law by its soldiers. Israel is the opposite in all of those cases, a democracy with an independent court system that has hundreds of open cases into allegations against its soldiers. It is important that those processes be allowed to proceed. That is the principle of complementarity under which the ICC was founded. Now, when it comes to countries making the decision, they all have to make their own decisions in the same way that the United States has.
So one huge similarity between both Israel and Russia is that neither are members of the ICC, just like you.
Yeah, also correct. Also correct.
Okay, well, if they don't have jurisdiction over Israel, why should they have jurisdiction over
Ukraine?
So Ukraine is not a member. Ukraine is a sovereign state, however, that has granted its jurisdiction to another country. I think it might have been Poland, another country, and allowed that country to intervene for them, which is something that sovereign states can do. There is no sovereign state of Palestine. We want to establish a Palestinian state, but that is the fundamental nature of our jurisdictional disagreement with the court.
What a piece, Palestine is an ICC party. So it's actually more valid than the arrest. I mean, let alone just the death count should tell you how clear and obvious this arrest warrant is. But it's more valid because of Ukraine's, Palestine's,
as to who the victims,
yes.
As whether in a crime against humanity, what difference does it make whether these individual,
but even on the jurisdictional
you can have crimes
point
against humanity brought against your own. The ICC can have charges against you for doing things to the people of your own country. It doesn't matter whether it's
it's all fake, right? The phrase "there's no equivalence" is one they've been leaning on for months now. That doesn't mean anything. That's just, I'm not accepting what you're communicating. We're done with this conversation. That's all that means. No equivalence. I'm an English major. I don't know what the hell they mean by that.
It doesn't mean anything except for the fact that
there is equivalence. There is exactly equivalence.
Right, exactly.
The ICC has determined through the same process that one party warrants an arrest warrant and another party warrants an arrest warrant. So there is an equivalence. There's an exact equivalence. In fact, there's probably one of the best equivalences you could have, which is a body that adjudicates whether there's equivalences.
Yeah, 1-to-1.
Right. And they abandoned the jurisdictional argument. Did you see that, though? That was initially what the State Department was saying at these briefings, which was just Israel is not a party to the ICC, so there's no jurisdiction. But it's so paper thin. They're
Russia is
pathetic
not a party.
excuses
That's the
because
problem. Someone just,
exactly. Thankfully, that Reuters reporter was able to nail that naked lying in front of our faces.
Hopefully, Israel's attention does not. I don't know. I guess the lack of distraction in terms of Hezbollah does not mean that they start to use those weapons on Gaza or increase the suffering there. But I wouldn't hold your breath. Hey, after pouring so much of our hope into this year's election, it is natural to feel burnt out and that the system is broken. But we can't give up now. That's what they want us to do. They want us to let the system continue as is, unchecked and unchallenged. Well, I've been working with Ground News for a long time now because they're an independent app and website designed to help you easily navigate the chaos of today's current events. For every story circulating, you can easily swipe through every news source reporting on it with transparency on their political, their regional, their bias, and their credibility. This really eases the mental load of finding the truth and holding those in power accountable. Take a break from the chaos, but don't leave your future in their hands. We need to know what Republicans are up to and how we even got here in the first place. Ground News reveals important insights on both. Demand transparency in the leaders who are supposed to serve you and the news that's supposed to accurately inform you. Go to ground.news/majority or scan the QR code to take advantage of Ground News' biggest sale of the year. Save 50% on their top-tier Vantage plan and stay informed without getting overwhelmed with what's to come these next 4 years, because we are the power behind democracy, not just bystanders in a rigged game.